Hey everybody, thanks for watching today, and we appreciate everybody that's subscribed. If you haven't subscribed, it doesn't cost anything. Just hit the button and it will help us out greatly. Like I said, free, totally free. It doesn't cost you a thing. If you like the videos, leave a comment. If there's anything that you have to add, leave a comment. We're always looking for suggestions on stuff. And like I said, working on this Jeep, it's been kind of fun. First Jeep I've ever worked on. Seems like everything's kind of easy to do. Not a lot to it. Everything's kind of right there in front of you. Kind of compact, I mean, but move a couple things out of the way and it's all right there. So appreciate you watching. We're going to do some more videos on this thing and see where it goes. Thanks.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. It's been quite some time since I put a video out, and if anybody knows what having too many projects is like and a lot of stuff coming up, you'll know why. Too much stuff to do. Anyway, today we have a 2014 Jeep Wrangler Unlimited that we're going to be working on. Picked this Jeep up probably 4 weeks ago. And so far, liking it. It's a decent riding vehicle. It's got a little bigger tires on it, rims and tires, just a small lift on it, nothing crazy. It's got the winch and the heavier bumpers. Just kind of a fun little toy. First Jeep that I've ever owned. Never worked on any Jeeps, and this should be interesting. But today, essentially, I'm going to be putting a radiator in it. Took it for a road trip last weekend, 2 weekends ago, pulling a small trailer, and on the highway, it's got a little taller gearing in it, so you get up 70, 75. The RPMs are at about 2,800. So it runs a little higher RPM and seems to get a little hot, and I don't know, maybe that's a Jeep thing. They get hot. The grills on them aren't very big, the openings in there, and there's a lot of stuff packed in front of it. So I've decided to put a Mishimoto radiator in it. Still in the box, brand new. So we'll get that out, take a look at it, see what it looks like, and then fight through putting it in this thing. I've never worked on a Jeep, so we'll see. It'll be interesting. So take a walk around here and look at it real quick. So like I said, kind of a fun little thing. Tops come off. I do have a soft top for it, but for me it seems like a lot of work, so it's just as easy to take these panels off, and it's kind of fun. It's got the heavier bumper on the back. It's got some rock chips and stuff on the fenders, but normal stuff, hinges. Not a fancy show rig, but good enough to ride. So let's get going. All right. Hinge latch flap open, little thing there. So, looks like definitely this stuff is gonna have to come off. That's cool. Must have fell out of the pad up here. Anyway, looks like this has got to come off for sure. I'll have to drain the radiator, and looks like this comes out. That's simple enough. So I guess I'll look around for a radiator drain. I'll get that going, and then start taking all that stuff off. So aside from the cooling issues of it not keeping the engine very cool, and maybe that's just the way these vehicles are, these are plastic tanked radiators. You can see right there, right here, it's leaking. Somewhere along that tank. So aluminum radiator with the plastic tanks, and from what I understand, these always leak. So that's an issue. I noticed a little bit of antifreeze underneath the vehicle when I was, stopping at different places. And then too, like I said, just running cooler with the new radiator, hopefully. The drain is on the passenger side, this end, right side of the vehicle, so passenger side, and then right on the bottom, you see that little thumb screw right there. So just turn that, and hopefully that will drain out of there. Sometimes those drains get kind of messed up, but hopefully this one's okay. So we'll get a bucket and start draining that. So I'm having a little trouble getting that thing to turn. It's not the best thing to get to either. There we go. Alright. And it looks like it's going to be a slow drain. So I guess we'll leave it at that. Pop the radiator cap off and just let it do its thing. So got that drain in. We'll go ahead and start getting stuff out of the way. This is the tube for the overflow, and that overflow jug just literally slides down into some like T-slots, so you can pull that jug right up out of there. And it's just these 2 slots that hold it in the back side of the fan. So we'll get that out of there. And then we can take the air box off. Got these 2 bolts here. These 2 bolts here, there's a clamp there, a clamp here, and then there's these clips here. There's one there, there's one straight down in there, and there's one right back here on the back side, right back there. And the air box will come out of there, or at least the upper part of it, and then the lower part just pulls straight up out. I think there might be some type of an electrical connection on there. We'll have to see once we start pulling this apart. But I'll get some tools and start taking that apart. This is 10mm. And then 5/16 or 8mm, I think. Loosen that one up. Loosen that one up. That pulls off. That pulls off. And then right on the bottom side here, you can see there's an electrical connection. Right. Oh, please. There we go. Camera get loose right there. There's an electrical connection that has to come off, and then this whole unit can come out.
So, if you take a screwdriver, just a flat tip, and on the connector end, or I should say on the end of whatever it's plugging into, you can just kind of get in there and just pry it up a little bit, and then it comes right off. For whatever reason, pushing on this tab on the back here, I just couldn't quite get that front to pry up enough. So anyway, that's out of the way. And I will go ahead and take the air filter and the box out of the way just to get a little more room. So it's just those four. And the filter comes out with the box. You can unplug or I think that just pulls off of there, yeah. That hose just pulls off, that unit comes out. And then to get the lower box out, basically this unit here, you can just pull that straight up out of there. So I just pull that up out of there just like that. It's out of the way. And actually that's not terrible. There's a connection here for the fans. Plug that, swing it over, and it looks like you can unbolt the fan. Might just be bolted on with a couple of bolts at the top here. I'll get the camera swung around. And we should be able to get that fan unit up and out of there. I'm going to work on getting this cover off of here real quick. We'll get a little pry bar, pry that off of there. Alright, so 4 of these clips, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then they just go into the top of the fan shroud. And then you get that out of there, and then this just comes right off. The radiator's still draining, so I guess I'll work on getting this hose off for now. Get it out of the way, and then I'll work on pulling the fans, or the fan, out of there. And I want to look down in here and see what's actually attached to the radiator. It looks like there's still quite a bit of stuff. A couple of bolts here. This grill will have to come off. Looks like it's just held on with these clips up here, hopefully. We'll see when we get to that point. So we'll take this clamp off here, and I got these, they're not very expensive, cheap pliers that are made for those clamps. They actually work pretty good. You just hook that in there and then flip that around there, and then they ratchet and stay clamped, or I should say closed, so you're not trying to struggle with these clamps. Hold them with a pair of pliers or whatever. And then when you get it done, then you can just flip the lever, release it, and they come right off. So they work pretty good. I think I got those on Amazon. Cheap. Not that expensive. That hose is off. I'm going to leave the lower one for now, just because the radiator's still draining. But now I'm going to work on getting this grill out of the way. And I believe we should be able to just pop these tabs up. I think I've got some new tabs in the garage. Some of these look like they're kind of wore out. But they should just go together. Something like that. And then when you press them in, it just kind of separates the bottom part and holds. But I might have some new ones because these are not in the greatest shape. Got a couple of lights here that will unhook. Easier than that. I'll just take that one out so I need to disconnect it. It's kind of a pain. Simple enough, they just twist out. And this can be plugged back in. So now you can see what actually has to come apart here, because it looks like there's going to be some cooler stuff that'll have to get unbolted. Here, down there, and down here, and up a little higher, up in here. So all that stuff, I'd like to kind of just leave it in place. I don't really want to take it out of there. I'd like to be able to just pull the fans, pull the radiator straight up out of there. We'll have to flip the hood all the way back and get this out of the way once it's done draining. But I'm gonna go ahead and work on getting this fan out of here now. So if you look on the back side here, There's a bolt here. There's one on the other side. And I don't know if there's any more than that. So I'll try taking those two out and see if that just pulls straight up out of there. So let's try that. It appears that these are 8mm. Definitely on that side. The only thing holding it. Oh, there it is. Okay, so that's all it is. Just the two at the top, and then the fan assembly can come right up out of there. So that's simple enough. Really, I mean, there is a lot of room to work on this stuff in here. Try to get this out of the way. That's everything on the backside except for the lower radiator hose, which lower radiator hose in this thing is like halfway up the radiator. It's kind of weird. Doesn't make any sense to me. You can see it's pretty much wide open. So I guess the next step is going to be getting all this stuff off the front of the radiator. It seems like it's dripping, just about done dripping, so not a whole lot of juice came out of there, which is maybe why this thing is so terrible at cooling. The new radiator is practically twice the width. You can look at this thing and see how narrow this is. I mean, there's my finger in there in comparison to this. So it's quite a bit wider. Hopefully hold a bit more coolant. And the other thing that I got too is 180 degree thermostat. I think I'm just going to do it. I wasn't going to do it, but I think I'm just going to do it. And that's, the housing for that is right there. And these, it's a plastic housing. I don't know if these housings go bad, because everything I've read about this is that you want to change the housing with the thermostat. But I'm going to not do that because it is fairly easy to get to. So if I have to change it later, I'll change it. But for now, I'm just going to change out the thermostat. And here's what that thermostat looks like. Not very big. Because the cooling on this thing seems to be terrible. I mean, maybe it's normal, but this thing runs like, just cruising down the highway, it runs at like 220 degrees. And I know all these things on the front end here blocking the wind is going to cause some of that. But I would think that it would be better than that. So, anyway, I guess since this thing is just about dripped out, I'm going to go ahead and take that lower radiator hose off, and then I'll work on getting all these coolers unbolted. Actually, those are bolted together, so it might end up just being 4 bolts. There's one there, one up there, and same on the other side. Might just be those 4. I'll take those out, and we'll see if that's all that it is that's holding that in there. Nope, I see there's one there as well. So there's 2 on this side over here. There. 3 actually. 1, 2, 3. And it looks like 1, 2. So we'll take those out. They look to be 8mm. And I think I'll get a wrench for that. Get a wrench for that, wrench for that, and a wrench for that. Okay, I gotta get some wrenches. Ratcheting wrenches are like the greatest thing. Especially trying to get into tight spots like this. It just works out really well. Get this radiator out of here, we'll look at the end of it too. You can kind of see it actually looks like it's leaking. There's a bunch of corrosion from the coolant. I'm surprised at how little coolant actually came out of this thing. It's kind of weird. Radiators on these smaller vehicles just do not have much coolant in them. Okay, there's that. I got one more, I think. Leave a comment if you've worked on one of these and put anything different in, different fans or whatever, because it just seems odd to me that this thing runs so hot. You know, and I've read about emission stuff and all that, but let's see. I think that's everything. It feels like it is. Pretty sure that that is just attached to the back, to the condenser that was actually attached to the radiator. That's the radiator. That's the radiator. And that's the radiator. So I think that's everything. It's just those 5. And the neighbor's mowing the grass. So then, once I get this hose off here, right there's just 2 bolts. One right here and one right here that hold that radiator in. So let's see if that's true. In that hose. Leave that hang there. Those bolts on the radiator look like they might be 10mm. They are. Two. And that little radiator hose is leaking everywhere. So pick that back up a little. Right up behind here. Alright, there it is. So in theory, if that's all that's holding that in there, this thing should just pick up. Which it looks like it's going to. Down here at the bottom, you can see that. The camera's on. Oh yeah. There's little pockets for it to sit in. There's one there and one right there. So we'll see if we can pick that up out of there. This side here might be a little bit of a problem. Let's see. Maybe not. I see, okay. So, on the side of the radiator, right here, There's also a bolt down underneath there. So it looks to be an 8mm. Pool party going on across the street. Neighbors mowing the grass. It's a nice day today. Tight in here with this horn in the way. Could probably move that out of there, but it's working. I'm gonna get the wrench on it easier, actually. I've got that loosened. Can't get it. Alright, let me struggle with this for a while. Alright, so that's all that it was, that extra bolt to fill. I gotta grab it. But in the meantime, all these coolers right here, you can see all this stuff on the front end of the Jeep. Trans cooler, AC stuff. I'm going to just keep it here. I want to throw a couple of zip ties together and actually go through this and then just tie it up to the frame here, because I don't want this stuff just to be hanging. And I'll pull this up here and that'll keep it from just hanging off the lines over here. We should be able to get this out of here now, I think. I take that back. There's some electrical wires over here, a little push socket. Carefully take those out. Okay. Looks like everything there. Now let's see. Hard to tell, but I think there might be something else on the bottom holding. This stuff up and forward here. like it doesn't want to come out of there. I have to get a little ladder. I had to let my camera cool down for a minute. While I was doing that, I struggled to get that out of there, and then I realized that right down here there was another barb that was in the side of the radiator that was holding it, so it's out of there. I said zip tied this stuff up, so it's just kind of hanging in there. But getting that radiator out of there, I could see how bad this really is. Get this stupid camera tripod down here a little bit. All that, all the way down. You can see it's bad. And then on the back side, it's pretty rough. And then down there at the bottom, you can see it's pretty bad. So there it is, out. The new one here. Well, it's almost kind of a shame to cover it up. It looks so nice. But anyway, we'll go ahead and start working on cleaning things up, and I'll wash down some stuff in the front end here, and then I'll come back and get this thing put in. Alright, that was a little bit of a struggle. So, it's back in. Basically, it's nice to have another person, because trying to get the radiator past these tabs and the stuff behind it, and then get all this stuff lined up and get it in there is kind of a pain. So extra person just to hold this side of the radiator, the left side here, or the right side I guess you'd call it, and then somebody to help kind of also pull on this a little bit while you're working that all in there. So back in, and now it's just reverse procedure on all of it. Top bolts in here, and then all the other bolts that hold the cooler to the radiator. Just figuring out which ones to use on that, and then hooking your hoses back up. Overall, not terrible. So I'll just buzz through this real quick and get everything buttoned back up again, and then I got to get some coolant. We'll get coolant put in it and take it out for a test drive and see if it helps us. The other thing that I'm gonna do, I'm gonna run it first with just the radiator and see how much actual like cooling benefit that I got out of just the radiator. And then when I bring it back after it cools down, I'll probably end up changing out the thermostat. But I don't have a gasket for the housing, for the thermostat housing, so I want to just try the radiator out first and see what that does for me. And if it's a great benefit, I mean, if the thing's running, you know, under 200 degrees, then I'll probably wait on the thermostat. But if it's still running over 200 degrees, then I'm definitely going to change that thermostat out. So anyway, that's that. So I'll get this all put back together, and I'll bring you guys back and we'll look at it again. One more thing too, being that this is an aluminum radiator and you've got steel bolts, I always try to use anti-seize, because if that steel starts to corrode two different metals, you'll snap it off, break it off if you ever have to take anything back apart. It's just always easier with a little bit of anti-seize. I just take and put a little bit on the thread. You don't have to go crazy with it, but you know, you ever taken something apart that's been together for quite some time, especially if it's an aluminum part, and it doesn't want to come apart, or you break a bolt off. Well, trying to drill a steel bolt out of an aluminum housing is not fun. So a little bit of anti-seize will save you a lot of headache. So I'm going to go ahead and finish getting these bolts put in, get everything buttoned up, get the fan back in, and then we'll take a look at it. Alright, so got everything for the most part put back together. The only thing I left off right now is the air intake. pipe. And the reason for that is I got to thinking about it, and for the cost of coolant, I think I'm just going to change the thermostat now and not take it out and test drive it without that new thermostat being installed. So simple enough. Basically, looks like there's two bolts, one at the top right there, one underneath. We'll take those out and pop that other thermostat in there. Hopefully the gasket's okay. If not, I'm going to the parts store anyway. I'll grab one. So let's do that real quick. So here's what it looks like when it's apart. And it appears, not ever taking one of these apart, you have to collapse this spring and then twist this plate, and then your thermostat should pop out of there. And then the new thermostat is just the inner part of it. So I'm going to go ahead and try that and see what happens. So that's literally all it is. And then those two parts come out. Thermostat comes out, and look at that. That might have been part of my problem right there. Gasket is blown out. So maybe that's why I was running so hot. Here's a new thermostat. You can see the gasket is clearly in there. And that just goes in the housing, straight in, just like that. Spring goes on. You collapse this down and then turn. Just like that. There it is. In. The only other thing is it down in there on the actual part of the block. I don't know if you can see it, but like right, where am I looking? Right there, you can kind of see that black O-ring. That one looks like it's okay. I'm not gonna replace that, so we'll try it. If it starts leaking, it's easy enough to get to. So I'm gonna go ahead and put that back together. Two bolts. Throw a little anti-seize on them. And of course, because this is a plastic housing, you don't want to crank those down too terribly tight. I'm not sure what the torque spec is, but they weren't super tight, so I'm just gonna go a little bit on them. Crack that housing and be leaking everywhere, so that's it. Done. Simple. So if you're having heating issues, or I should say not really overheating, but running high temperature, might be something worth looking into, is checking your thermostat, because that gasket is clearly out and it's been out for a while. So I'm glad I checked that. So last step is throw the air intake back on, plug everything back in, and then I gotta run and get some coolant, get her tested out. Alright, $85 later, I got 4 gallons of premix. So I don't know why antifreeze is so expensive. Alright guys, finished up this video. Took it out, test drove it after putting coolant in, and it looks like the temperatures are running a little bit cooler, but it's still not quite to where I'd like it to be. So I'm going to look into some other things, maybe fans, or like I said, I know all this stuff on the front end really blocks the entrance to the radiator, so it could be just that. It's just going to have to live with it the way that it is. But anyway, review of putting it in. Not terrible. The hardest part is when you're putting in the screws that hold all these coolers here to the radiator. They're kind of a pain, the ones on the bottom on each side. And then the other thing, kind of disappointed in, is this bracket. Actually, this is part of the this is part of the AC condenser unit. There's supposed to be a bolt that goes in to hold that. Well, the holes don't line up, and the only way to fix that is I'd have to probably either drill the hole in the bracket larger or try to slot it in without taking all that stuff out of there. There's no way to do that, so basically I just left it out. There's 5 bolts that are holding all that stuff in. That one extra, is that going to be a problem? Not to me. So anyway, got some more stuff we're going to be doing with this Jeep. I've got wheel seals on the rear, one wheel seal that needs to be replaced, and then we'll probably, who knows what, maybe fans and just whatever else. But for now, radiator in. So done deal. Thanks for watching, guys. Appreciate everybody that subscribed. And if you haven't subscribed, hit the button, like the video, and keep on getting us subscribers and likes. Thank you.